Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3. Week 1 of the preseason is underway. Uh, we got, 3 games tomorrow, 2 games going on today. A lot went on yesterday. We're just going to go through and kind of break down everybody who we deem fantasy relevant in the preseason. Obviously, it's the preseason. There's a ton of nobodies playing. Probably never heard of half these kids. And we won't talk about those kids. We'll talk about some league news, and we'll talk about the preseason um, review from yesterday slash today-ish, and kind of a preview for tomorrow to anybody that we think that you should be looking out for per se. But it is preseason, so you can only buy into what happens in the preseason so much.
Yes.
So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get into the Jets-Giants game.
The Battle of the Bronx, as I self-proclaim it.
More like the battle of the butts, because both of these teams are butt.
Yeah.
The Giants are, I think, going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. But Sam Darnold looked pretty good. If Sam Darnold takes a step forward, I think the Jets could be okay. I think they could be a 6-7 win team. I didn't actually know Trevor Siemian was there. Backup. I think that's a pretty good backup.
It's not too bad, yeah. I mean, they actually, for the Giants being so butt that they were, I mean, again, take everything in this whole episode with a grain of salt, but Daniel Jones actually did look bad.
Daniel
I'm
Jones
gonna
was
say it.
flawless.
He was threading it over in the corner, in the end zone, and he caught a receiver there for a touchdown. I mean, he looked Manning-esque, which
Which
is
Which obviously the team released a statement. They were like, "Oh, don't worry, there's no quarterback controversy, yada yada yada." And nobody thinks that Daniel Jones is going to start week 1. Daniel Jones could go 35 for 35 in the preseason. He still probably wouldn't start week 1. But Daniel Jones, at some point, the kind of general belief, maybe not with the Giants, but general belief with most people, including myself, is that Daniel Jones will take over at some point during the season. And the only thing that I think would prevent that is if the Giants are actually maybe in the playoff hunt, quote unquote. Doubt that that's even possible. I don't see them winning more than like 3 or 4 games this year. And I assume 10 to 12 weeks into the season, when they only have 2 or 3 wins, is kind of when Daniel Jones will go in.
yeah, I mean, it kind of scares me because of the consensus 1.1 right now being Saquon. Like, whenever that happens, and I mean, it's more than likely gonna happen later on this year. What is gonna happen with Saquon's value gearing up for fantasy playoff season? You know what I mean? Like, will his value decrease any in that offense when Daniel Jones comes in? I mean,
I think it
who
takes a
knows?
slight hit, but I think Saquon is so good at the
He
same time
is,
that even by
but
volume, he would still be good. Like, you know what I'm saying? If he's averaging 23, 24 points a game, I still think you're probably getting your 18, 19 solid, because he's he's liable to break off a 90-yard touchdown at any time. He
oh
catches
yeah,
passes. If you're in a PPR league, obviously every catch is a point. Even half PPR, half a point is still worth. By the way, people, if you're not playing decimal scoring, please, 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 I beg of you, play decimal scoring.
it
Um,
really is the best way to play. I mean, nothing
you're less likely
infuriates
to tie.
somebody, right? Nothing infuriates somebody more than tying in fantasy football.
Imagine losing because you have 5 people on your team with, you know, X 9 yards, 49 yards, 59 yards, 69 yards, and you don't get points for those 9 yards. Come on now,
Hmm.
you deserve those points. Why would one more yard equal one more point? By decimal scoring, people. It's 2019. But yeah, I think Saquon Barkley's his volume is just too high.
Yeah. I don't think they had Evan Ingram on the field at all in that game. Also, if you could, I don't know if you can, pull up a picture of what's his name for the Jets, their wide receiver. Good Lord.
I don't know his name.
Was it?
I will say notable Jets player Chris Herndon. A lot of people think he's suspended for, I think, 4 games for substance abuse, but a lot of people think Chris Herndon's going to come back and be pretty good. So he could be a guy that you pick up in week 3 or 4 and stash if you
Mm.
got an open bench spot. You got somebody who's exposable.
Robbie
Exposable?
Anderson, who I was talking about.
Disposable. But
Dude, last night the man looked like a psychopath. I
he
don't know if you
he
saw
he always looks like a psychopath though.
the.
But he's very fast and he's pretty good at
Yeah,
football.
he's definitely got some upside this year for sure. Especially like you said, if Darnold makes a turn a little bit,
I mean,
I think.
Robbie Anderson towards the end of the year was actually very solid.
Yeah, he was. I think Robbie Anderson could be one of those mid mid round steals.
Yeah, I think
Like,
Robbie Anderson's a guy that's got like a wide receiver 2 ceiling, but you're getting him at like a wide receiver, like a high 3, mid 4 maybe.
yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think he's going around late 70s. I would have to double check, but he's definitely somebody who's available to everybody. I would like Robbie Anderson on my team this year as my wide receiver 3 or 4, as long as he can stay out
Yeah.
of trouble. That is. Just now we're
Stay
gonna
off the
move on to
weed.
the Colts and Bills. Ted
Yeah, he's
Kelly looked pretty
currently
good. Not really relevant. Nieheim.
Neheim. Yeah.
Uh, he was pretty bad. 6 carries for 1 yard, not very good. But I wouldn't put much stock in that because he's a pass catcher. Devin Funchess caught a couple passes. Devin Funchess is one of the big names, quote
They
unquote
added an
big,
offseason.
that they added in the offseason. Yeah. A lot of people are curious to see, right? Because they brought in Paris Campbell. Not brought in, they drafted Paris Campbell. But if Devin Funchess sucks, Paris Campbell could be pretty good. But on the opposite side of that, somebody's gonna have to be the wide receiver 2. People think it's gonna be Devin Funchess, so Devin Funchess could be pretty good himself this year. Personally, I'm not confident in Devin Funchess' talent. He never really impressed me. He always seemed to let me down in, the past 2 or 3 years when he was in Carolina. But Cam Newton doesn't really ever make his wide receivers look great. Like season wise, they never really seem to put up really big numbers. But I can see Devin Funchess having, 65 catches, 800 yards, and a few touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a big competition for their number 2 receiver there. And if Andrew Luck is able to bounce back healthy, which they're still saying that he's weeks out, expected to
But
make
yeah,
the
they
first,
also say
yeah,
that he's expected to play week 1, which is
right. You know,
big.
they're
But I mean, he's the franchise, right? They're gonna be pretty quick. They're gonna be pretty careful with Andrew Luck. That's just something to keep an eye on, especially because Andrew Luck's getting drafted in your top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. I see no reason if he's even going to miss 1 week, and he's going to miss 1 week, and at the beginning of the season, obviously you think everybody's going to play 16 games. You're looking at that, and you can take Andrew Luck or Deshaun Watson. Take Deshaun Watson.
yeah,
Now it's possible Deshaun Watson plays 1 quarter and Andrew Luck plays 15 games, but that's kind of the game you play when you play fantasy football.
right. Just a side note on Funchess, his ADP right now is 146, and Paris Campbell's is 141. So hopefully by the end of this preseason, we can definitely see one of those guys stand out a little bit more than the other to be that strong number 2. But as of right now, I mean, both of them you can get super late
I
in
think
the draft.
I think the logic on that, right, is people think Paris Campbell is probably the better wide receiver,
Right.
and they think Paris Campbell will be the wide receiver 2 at the end of the year, so they're drafting that based off potential
Hmm.
over safety, I guess, with Devin Funchess. Like Devin Funchess is going to start the year probably as the wide receiver 2. I would assume. I don't think you go out and
Yeah,
sign
I
him to be
mean,
your wide receiver. You know what I'm saying?
no, I mean, I really doubt it, especially if they're planning on running 2 tight end sets um, with Doyle and Ebron
Yeah.
there. So definitely see they would go with a guy that has more experience in the NFL rather than straight off the rookie, unless he like we would have probably already known by now if Paris Campbell has just been blowing it up in the camps, then he would
Yeah.
probably be above Devin Funchess.
Plus, rookie wide receivers typically don't do great, but you never know. With a quarterback like Andrew Luck, it could be.
Yeah. For the Bills though, now, I mean,
You guys talk about
yeah,
Josh Allen.
yeah. I mean, Josh Allen.
A lot of people are super hot on Josh Allen, which he went 6 for 11. It's not great. That's not awful.
Yeah,
Um, the
his
the thing
rushing ability though
Yeah, the
is
thing about
like,
Josh Allen is he can run the ball. better than I thought he could. I was very surprised last year with how well he ran the ball. It
Hmm.
was almost like, what? This doesn't even make sense. But, you know, rushing quarterbacks are very prominent in fantasy football, as we said last week. But I don't know. Keep an eye on Josh Allen for sure. Some people think of it a top 10 quarterback this year. I don't think of it a top 10 quarterback. I think he'll have big weeks due to
Right.
rushing. Right? Didn't he rush for 100 yards last year in a game or two?
Yeah. He also didn't he have a game where he's like 5 or 6 touchdowns, something crazy like that.
Nah, I don't
Maybe I'm
remember.
thinking of another, but
I can look real quick. But Josh Allen is more fantasy relevant because of his rushing, right? But a lot of people also think Josh Allen takes the step in passing, and that's why people think that Josh Allen will be pretty good this year.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell because the Bills are just in such a
Yeah,
rebuild right
he had
now.
back to back games last year with 100 yards. That's what I was thinking. Actually, he had 99 and then 135 and then 101 rushing yards. But then he ended the season with 16, 30, and then 95, which so it's almost 4 games of. I mean, that's 4 games of 95 plus rushing yards. It's kind of insane. And if he takes a step in, passing like we're talking about, then I can see how Josh Allen, could break into that quarterback one role. But there's definitely safer options.
Yeah. The reports coming out too, like in their backfield for the Bills, that LaShawn McCoy has been told
LaShawn
that,
McCoy was saying that.
yeah, he's been told, quote unquote, that he's still the guy and number one in that backfield. I don't know who told him that. I mean, they didn't release names, but
There's also been reports though that LaShawn McCoy could get cut, is there not?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know. LaShawn McCoy is not hearing the same things that everybody else is hearing, but apparently Frank Gore's gonna get most of the first team. That was what was being said, that Frank Gore's gonna get most of the first team reps. But Devin Singletary had 12 touches, he had 9 carries, and he had 3 catches. Obviously, we've talked about Devin Singletary every week. I'm pretty high on Devin Singletary in the late round just because I think his ceiling can be really high simply because you can get a guy who's, a 3 down back
right.
in, 120, 130th overall. And so
Yeah,
anytime you get that potential that late, I think it's worth noting, like realistic potential to get that without injuries.
agreed. Let's let's definitely move on to the next game. Falcons Dolphins. I personally didn't watch this game. I caught it late, so I'm having to do a little recap here. But there's a guy named Matt Schaub still in the league. I've never heard of him in my life, but I'm pretty sure he's like 45 now, something like that. No,
It's old enough to be
he
my
is.
dad. I love
He's
this Matt
38
Schaub.
years old, um, and I
There's
believe he played most of the game. Um, he passed. He went 12 for 19, 172, no touchdown, no interception.
not relevant, really.
Yeah, I mean, not relevant. Matty Ice is going to be there.
All 3 of their quarterbacks are named Matt, by the way.
Matt, that's crazy, actually.
Yeah, they got
Um, ru-
a trio of
rushing,
Matts.
you saw the main, I guess, handcuff to Devonta Freeman, Ito Smith. He went 4 for 7 and got a quick little touchdown. I mean, really not a lot of relevancy in this game, in my opinion, on their side of the ball. None of their receivers played. I mean, preseason week one, it's like it's
Aren't they saying
digging
Julio might
for,
not play all preseason?
yeah. I mean, maybe the last game, something like that.
A lot of teams are kind
Um,
of moving to that with their veterans, where their veterans don't hardly touch the field. Which I was interested. Larry Fitzgerald had a catch, so Larry Fitzgerald was playing. Um, I don't know.
yeah,
He's older. I just feel like I get you want. Maybe it's because you have a rookie quarterback, right? And you want to get some kind of chemistry going in some live games. But
the Falcons.
no, the Cardinals. Just talking about Larry Fitzgerald,
Oh, yeah. On
Kyler.
the other side of the ball, uh, Josh Rosen actually got some time. I believe Ryan Fitzpatrick started the game. He went 2 for 5 for 20,
Probably
20
played one
yards.
drive. I mean,
Yeah,
Ryan Fitzpatrick's probably gonna be the starter this year. He'll probably, honestly, thinking about the past, right? Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to come out and be an absolute stud. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to throw 12 touchdowns through 3 weeks, no
Yeah.
interceptions, 800 yards. And then Ryan
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick is just going to hit rock bottom. He's going to plateau because that's what Ryan Fitzpatrick always does. He's going to have some Fitz magic, and then maybe Josh
that
Rosen gets his
magic
opportunity.
dust will run out a little bit. And the biggest thing I think that we need to keep an eye on, like we said before, is their backfield. Um, Kenyon Drake really didn't look good in his limited time that he had on the field. Um, he actually only had 12 yards on 4 carries. Um, the main competitor, I guess you would call for him, was Kalen Balaj. He
Non-rookie
carried
Kalen Balaj.
non-rookie Kalen Balaj, who had 6 for 23 and a touchdown.
I think that'll be a split, like a committee backfield.
Yeah, more than what everyone probably
Yeah, I
wants it to be.
think it'll be
Like,
like 60-40.
yeah, and everyone in fantasy hates committee backs. I mean, let's be honest. But I still, as of this day, right now, I still think Kenyon's the guy for right now, just because from everything from reports and everything like that, they're still saying that he's still the more elusive back out of the backfield. The problem is now, you know, you do have not a Frank Gore behind you as that steady,
Big
you,
salad.
yeah, that was it 4.5 yard a rush.
The
That's what
big
he's
salad
averaging.
is just gonna get you
Yeah,
3.5 to 4.5 yards a carry
exactly.
every rush. Nothing more, nothing less. That's
And
good.
so apparently, just on the last note on Drake, apparently here when Ryan Fitzpatrick's on the field, uh, Kenyon Drake has been playing more with him, and when Rosen's on the field, it's noted that Kalen Balaj has been running in his backfield. So maybe that's kind of the sign showing that Balaj is the future. I mean, who knows? Whatever you read into it, that's your own will. But
Yeah, they're like
as
trying
of
to
right,
prep them together or something per se.
yeah, as of right now, I still think it's Drake's job to lose primarily out of the backfield.
Let's get on to Patriots Lions. Um,
Wow.
the Patriots. I think the only person who's probably relevant would be N'Keal Harry, Philip Dorsett, maybe Benjamin Watson. Somebody's got to fill, maybe Dontrell Inman as well. Somebody's got to fill Gronk's role. Um, N'Keal Harry, obviously, their big rookie that they brought in, last pick of the first round. Um, Super talented. We said it last week when we were talking about rookies. N'Keal Harry is in a good spot. It's possible that he ends up being their wide receiver too. Obviously, you've got a little competition there, but N'Keal Harry is probably the most talented group or the talented wide receiver to be wide receiver too. That he's the most talented option. But rookie wide receivers, I've said it once, I'll say it again. They typically don't have great rookie seasons, so it takes them a second to adjust to the NFL cornerbacks and whatnot. So we'll have to see on N'Keal Harry. I wouldn't really
Yeah,
think Philip Dorsett is kind of fantasy relevant. Benjamin Watson's had some good seasons, but I
he is
think
getting older though.
yeah, N'Keal Harry is the one with the biggest potential. I feel like
Biggest note about that is N'Keal Harry did suffer an injury during the game. He came out, and they really haven't said anything. It's unclear what his injury is. I believe it was a 25-yard pass that he caught, and then he's expected now to miss some quote unquote practice time. Um, However, week one doesn't seem to appear that it's in doubt. It's unclear what the injury is, but it looked like a leg injury. Um, we don't really know as of right now, but everything out of the news is just saying they're just going to be precautionary with him. That's about it. Players that shine, in my opinion, was the Patriots backup Jarrett Stidham. He's a rookie out of Auburn. I believe he played there. Yeah, he played Baylor and then Auburn. He went 14 for 24, 179 and a touchdown. I believe he's currently fighting for that backup role with Brian Hoyer. Um, I think we could definitely see Stidham being groomed.
Future.
Yeah, we can see
Brian
Stidham
Hoyer's
being.
Brian Hoyer's old, right? I mean,
He's
he's been in the
older,
league.
yeah.
He's been in the league for a while, and as of right now, Hoyer's probably the backup. But it's kind of a similar situation with maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Jimmy Garoppolo was obviously really good for the Patriots. Bill Belichick didn't want to get rid of Garoppolo.
He didn't.
He wanted to keep him. He was not happy with the front office when Garoppolo got traded, and I mean, quite frankly, I mean, how well he performed, kind of got to understand where Belichick's coming from. You know, he groomed this young quarterback and is mentored by Tom Brady as well. And, you know, just kind of give him away. I don't know. Like you're losing a lot of like valuable mentorship.
Yeah. I think maybe now that they're seeing that, I mean, what he signed a 2-year contract to extend
Yeah,
Brady.
I think Stidham though, you know, maybe he is the future for the Patriots, right? How many seasons does Tom Brady have left? Nobody knows. I mean, maybe he's playing 10 years from now. You would have thought he would already been retired, but then he goes out and goes back to back Super Bowls, and
I mean, I definitely
he's still
think it's
chasing
under.
records and
I definitely think it's under 5 for sure.
under
I
five.
can't.
Man, you almost think it's under one every single year.
I can't. I really. I mean, I think this is his last contract. I really do.
I
I think.
think if Garoppolo, I think Belichick might retire with Brady, but I think if
Oh, for
Garoppolo was
sure.
there, I think Belichick might have stayed. So maybe Stidham draws his eye, or whatever draws his attention, and maybe that's a similar situation. Because Belichick, he doesn't want to be a bad team when Tom Brady retires. So if he doesn't have a franchise quarterback, I think he retires. But if he has somebody who thinks can, you know, carry the load at quarterback, I think he would stay coaching.
Also, we need to quote or label that out that Jared Stidham's number as a quarterback is 58. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but not my
But
choice.
you know,
There's nobody really notable for the Lions. They kind of got waffle stomped. Um,
yeah, I mean, it really wasn't much of a showing. There's nobody really to
yeah,
talk about.
hardly any of their starters played though,
Jesse
because Garrett
James,
Johnson.
a pickup in this offseason from
Huh?
Pittsburgh. He caught a pass for, one catch for 16 yards. I mean, we're digging here. We kept carry on off the field. Obviously, I mean he's their bell cow,
I
supposedly.
mean, Jones didn't do anything. Galladay didn't do anything. Stafford didn't do anything. Johnson didn't do anything. They didn't play any of their skill position players really, so it
No, I
makes sense that
think
they got killed.
I think really you're looking at the backup now for carry on out of that backfield would be either C.J. Anderson or Zach Zenner, like they always love to use Zach Zenner.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, it's just smash mouth football. Zach Zenner, rush it up the
Run it
middle.
up the middle. Now we can move on to another
Now
waffle
we can
stomp
move on to
game.
some.
We live in Tennessee, so we're not really big Jaguars fans. The Jaguars got killed. Surprisingly, Gardner Minshew didn't lead the way very well. Never even heard of him, but
He doesn't even have a number.
I wouldn't expect somebody with the name Gardner Minshew to just be popping off. And you know what they say: you can't judge people based off their name, but Gardner Minshew. I'll leave it at that. DJ Chark
Chark, I believe he was a
is a rookie
first round
last
pick.
year, and I don't know. Maybe he's notable this year. Who knows? Alfred Blue. He's
Oh,
he's worse than Lamar Miller. That's why they got rid of him. So
yeah, and he pretty much wound up in the wasteland of Jacksonville right now. I
yeah,
mean, let's be honest. Jacksonville has, I mean, Big Dick Nick going for him. He's off that Super Bowl high of a few years back.
I
They've
think
got
Nick
some.
Foles will be decent. He's an upgrade from Blake Bortles, but I don't. I mean, can Leonard Fournette stay healthy? Probably not. He's never been healthy. The wide receiver core is kind of lackluster. You don't really know what you're going to get. You got D.D. Westbrook, who's been kind of hit or miss. You've got Marquise Lee, who early in his career was kind of non-existent. He's been relevant the past couple years. A lot of people think that he
Hmm.
could be their quote unquote number one. I think D.D. Westbrook is probably the most notable wide receiver on the roster, but I mean he didn't even play. So
Yeah, I mean, really, the only thing for the Jaguars I would note that you pretty much, I mean, if you draft Leonard Fournette in your top 4 rounds as a running back two, running back one, I hope he's not your one, but
yeah,
I mean, you've you're basically you don't have to pay for your handcuff. Just let it be known. Just go ahead and put some guys on the back burner and keep your eyes on them, just in case Leonard Fournette does get hurt. I mean, they more than likely. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know who they would go to right off the back. I mean, I would probably say Alfred Blue with his experience,
well,
but
last year they
Raquel
traded
Armstead.
they traded for
So
Carlos Hyde, so I don't know. Maybe that maybe they just go out and get Melvin Gordon off off the Chargers in the middle of the season. He hasn't
Jesus,
played for 4 weeks.
I don't know. There's no telling.
Move on to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's 4 for 6, 59 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty solid. Didn't really see much of him. You don't really see much of the starters,
Yeah, I ended up watching
especially
the game.
non-rookies.
I watched a little bit of the game when Lamar was on the field, and I mean, obviously, he still did his thing. He scrambled around like he normally does, but the man actually was hitting some passes, like some pretty hard to throw passes. Um, so maybe, like I said before, maybe he is taking that small step
Kind of the
forward.
same thing with Josh Allen. Or if he
Yeah,
takes that step forward, I mean, I can see him touching in wide receiver or not wide receiver, quarterback one territory.
yeah. I mean, the Ravens defense in that game, it looked disgusting. Like it was actually really, really good. So,
They were going against Gardner Minshew
yeah, but I'm saying
and
like even
Alfred Blue.
like when
No, I'm
most of
just
the
kidding.
ones were in, I mean, they were in living in their
The,
backfield.
the Ravens defense is going to be really good this year.
Yeah. Another note, Justice Hill had
Like,
10 for 33. I definitely think,
obviously, Ingram didn't play, but that could be kind of signing. Yeah, Justice Hill's our number two, like for sure,
yeah.
100%. He's our guy if anything happens to Ingram, which is back what we were
Hmm.
saying in the past 2 weeks, really similar to Devin Singletary. You like Justice Hill, they're being drafted similarly. I like Singletary more because I think he's more likely to get the starting position. I think Justice Hill has to have Mark Ingram get hurt, but he's a guy that if he becomes a starting running back, he's going to get a ton of work. Ravens run the ball a ton.
Hmm.
Going to get 20 carries a game. The Ravens are also a good football team.
I
Bills
definitely
the Bills are
think,
not a good football team. So
no, this is my take on it. Like I said before, I could definitely see Justice Hill as that Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in that Mark Ingram role
yeah,
in their offense. Um, and if that's the case, Justice Hill has huge potential this
yep.
year. They both do. Um, another thing, I mean,
It's possible, like you're saying. I mean, it's possible Justice Hill gets 10 carries a game, and you're gonna
yeah,
guy
like
when you're gonna
six
guy
catches.
yeah when you're gonna guy one of your last rounds who's getting 10 carries a game. That's a
Pretty
steal.
solid.
Yeah,
That's flex potential.
exactly.
10 carries and 6 catches a
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
not about
that's
six,
flex.
but 14 touches a game. And you're like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I two more guys out of this game I want to mention. Willie Snead was running some great slot routes in this game. He really looked like he was comfortable in that offense. He caught a touchdown. Um, and the last guy I want to mention is a sleeper to keep your eye on. Mark Andrews is a tight end. He caught 2 for 11 in this game. He's a big body, 22-year-old. He definitely has some upside as that number one tight end in that offense.
Ravens are weird with tight ends. Didn't they have Boyle and what Max Williams?
They had Ben Watson go off like
Yeah,
years
they
back.
draft a lot of tight ends. Like they're looking for the next Kelsey or Gronk.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
missed it because that's going to be Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson will be good. I also think Fant could be pretty good. All right,
you
let's
never
move on.
know.
Let's move on. Redskins, Browns. Dwayne Haskins.
Uh,
He was drafted high. He didn't play very well. 2 interceptions, 8 for 14. I mean, he's a rookie. You can't buy into those numbers or anything. Like, everything in the preseason's with a grain of salt. He's looking to go into the season as the number 2 in case Keenum, is going to be starting. But they drafted Dwayne Haskins early. It's possible Dwayne Haskins takes over the keys at some point, depending on how good the Redskins are doing and how good Case Keenum is playing.
I think it's. I don't think he takes it over at all this year, especially if they've got a 500 season. Like
Oh,
I
I
don't.
agree. If they're anything close to a playoff opportunity, I don't either, unless Keenum's awful. But I think Keenum's decent enough that
Yeah,
he'll
I
just
mean,
kind of, he'll
he
drive the
he
car all
played
season.
solid for the Broncos last year. I mean, solid enough.
Well, the year
Um,
before with the Vikings, he went to
yeah,
playoffs and not a playoff win.
exactly. I mean, I think people sleep on Case more than they should. I mean, he's a journeyman. He's been around the world twice, but he's a veteran guy that really could coach up Dwayne Haskins if they want him to be that guy in a year
I think
to let
Dwayne
him take
Haskins
over.
potentially could be the best quarterback out of this year's draft.
Mm, I don't. I'm not gonna sit here and agree with that. I don't.
I'm not saying he is. I'm saying he could be. Dwayne Haskins has a big arm. He was honestly very good in college. Like,
Yeah,
and he threw for like
I mean,
5,000 yards last year or something
he
crazy.
did. Yeah, it's just I don't know. To me, for some reason, I don't see him as a Redskins quarterback. Like I just don't. I every time I think of that, I think of
Threw for
like just
4,800 yards last year.
yeah, just go ahead and say
But
5,000.
50 touchdowns, 8
Yeah,
interceptions. I mean, he's got a pretty accurate arm, a big arm too. He can throw it a long way. I think he's got the potential. Like I said, I'm not saying that he will be. Kyler Murray obviously went number 1. I think
hmm
Kyler Murray could be good. He's still a midget, so we'll just have to see. Um, Typically, you don't see many midgets in the NFL, especially ones that don't play running back. Um, but he looked good yesterday, so he went number 1 for a reason. He was phenomenal in college. Um, I give him a lot of crap for being short, but I mean he's talented. Kid could have played in the MLB if he wanted to.
yeah,
So, just an incredible athlete. I want to see Kyler Murray succeed.
yeah. I mean, digging for gold here for rushing. Samaje Perine probably gonna be there 3, maybe 2, depending on how Geis's injury.
What a
Uh,
stud, Samaj AP.
yeah, still sticking around.
I
Um,
mean, secure the
I
bag
don't
at
know.
all costs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't knock people. I would listen. I would quit my entire life right now to go be a placeholder in the NFL. Like, just let me hold your balls.
Let me hold the clipboard and just sit on the sidelines and look pretty.
Exactly.
Like, this kid is skinny. What is he doing out here? And then, millions of dollars, easy. I throw one pass in the preseason in 4 weeks.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I'm really supportive. I'm good at cheering on my teammates. I would be the most supportive teammate in the world for millions of dollars.
Yep. Let's flip it to the Browns. I got to be honest with you.
There's a lot to talk about with the Browns.
There is. And I'm going to go out and say it. I was full mast when I saw Baker Mayfield's touchdown pass. Oh my gosh. That man threaded it
Oh my gosh.
so tight.
Baker
Oh my gosh.
Mayfield performed well. It it does nothing but increase the hype, right? The Browns,
The hype is
everybody,
so off the charts right
yeah,
now.
everybody is insanely high on the Browns. Everybody wants to see the Browns not be awful. Last year, honestly, the Browns last year went what 7, no 8, 9 and 1.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. 7, 9 and 1. No,
Yeah.
6-9-1.
Yep. That's what I said.
6-9-1. I had to math for a second. But honestly, the Browns could have easily went 9-7 if they would not have had what's his face, the coach.
Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, they lost. They tied a game that they shouldn't have tied. Should have been a win. That's
Right.
easy 7-9, and then they lost two games as well in the first like 5 weeks of the season by a field goal and just terrible coaching in the fourth quarter. So I mean, they could have been a 500 team last year, so which was the first time that they've been a decent football team in many years.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the Browns a little bit before, but their defense is very solid. They've got some edges and linebackers that are genuinely scary. Um, the hype is, I mean, people have been saying now that Cleveland is America's team. Like, it's
I saw,
it's crazy.
I saw. I'm sure a lot of people saw it. And it was a couple weeks ago, but it was like the most ridiculed teams in the NFL. Top 10 teams. The Browns weren't even on it. It was the worst list I've ever seen in my life. The Browns have been
Yeah,
getting dogged on for years. For rightfully so. They've won before last year. They'd won 2 games in the last 3 years or something like that. And the fact that they weren't even on the list was just absolutely incredible. The Giants, who've won 2 Super Bowls in the past decade or something like that, were on the list. So they were number one actually. I don't remember who made the list. I don't remember if it was Bleacher Report or like CBS or Fox News. Something. It was something.
yeah. So I mean, Baker played that one drive. He went 5 for 6, 77, and a touchdown. And then pretty much just said, "Hold my dick. Here's the keys. You
What
guys go out there and have some fun."
what
Um,
we both think is the biggest story here, though, is Antonio Callaway is now suspended for 4 games. He
yes,
had 3 for 42, which is decent, right? And there's that fight for the third wide receiver. But with him being suspended 4 games, Rashard Higgins was decent last year. Rashard Higgins comes out 5 for 98 and a touchdown. And if he performs well in the first
that's
four
like,
weeks, Antonio Callaway is taking the back seat.
yeah, that's regular season numbers right there. 5 for 98 and a touchdown
Yeah, that's a
in the
big
slot.
week. Yeah,
That's And I mean, he was that guy that caught the pass from Baker Mayfield in the ones. So maybe they already knew that Antonio Callaway was going to get
yeah.
suspended. I mean, you
So
don't know.
Callaway's gonna have to absolutely snap in the preseason to have a chance, I think, to keep onto the wide receiver three. Um,
I got to
Nick,
tell you, it really wouldn't surprise me. I mean, at all. He's already messed up several times before and in college. It wouldn't surprise me if they just cut ties. I mean, it's sad,
maybe
but the man's really talented. He's just he's got some issues.
he could definitely
Um,
go somewhere. If he got cut, he could definitely go somewhere and be more relevant as well. I mean, it's
yeah,
not. It's gonna be hard to be relevant on a team where whoever the wide receiver three is probably the fourth option because you got to think Njoku is going to be the third option.
probably fourth or fifth. I mean, Chubb can catch the ball really well too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also,
they
other
just
Browns news: they traded Duke Johnson to the Texans.
yeah,
I think
that's
that's important.
mm-hmm.
I think Duke Johnson becomes fantasy relevant again,
Yeah. I mean, probably as relevant as he was before.
where
Maybe a little.
yeah, which we play a 2 flex league where I think he might be worth a flex spot because I can see him catching 50, 60 passes this year and look at a little rushing work, right? I mean, if he's their running back too, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he instantly comes into that too. If anything happens
Ah,
to
I mean, I don't know. They have Foreman still, don't they?
who else did they have? They
Don't they
they
have
don't have
Foreman?
Alfred Blue. No, they traded him to the Colts.
Did they? I guess I missed that.
Yeah, so he's not there anymore. So he is there instantly
Yeah, he
too.
is there too. You're right. You're right. That's wild. Well, that's phenomenal news for Duke Johnson. Then
Yeah.
he becomes
And he
fantasy
really, I
relevant.
mean, he wanted out of the Browns because he was basically going to be their third after 8 weeks. So he got
He
what
really
he
got
wanted.
mistreated last year. He kind of just got completely pushed out of the offense because he'd been you know
He had been their guy.
60, 60, 70 catches the past couple years.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Sorry, Duke, but as an organization, we've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt here. I doubt it. Like, I mean, see ya. I would. That's the right call. The way they handled it, maybe not have been the best way, but shipping him off to a place where he has potential to play more, then why not give it one? Why
It's a
not give him
win-win.
what he won? Yeah, I
Win-win for
mean,
both sides.
exactly.
But yeah, I think Rashard Higgins is a name to keep an eye on there.
For sure.
Really
Shout
nothing.
out to Garrett Gilbert, backup quarterback. Hope you make it. Number 3. He played for the AAF team, Orlando.
Rip the
Shout out to
AAF,
you.
man.
Rip AF, AAF.
That was short-lived, like insanely short-lived. They were like, yeah, they already got a 3-year contract or something, right? And they ended after like 8 or 9 weeks. It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I doubt it. But Orlando technically finished as the champions. So Garrett Gilbert, MVP of the league.
Well, I mean, he got a chance at a job, right?
Yeah,
So
clearly.
that's pretty cool. It was at least worth it for a lot of those guys. It was kind of crappy. A lot of those guys just got left on the side of the road.
Yeah.
They got
That's what,
took
he's a
out
guy that
back.
I'm rooting for to make it to the roster. But another guy I just want to mention real quickly is Damon Shishi Giuseppe. Everybody's talking about it right now everywhere, but the man lied his way onto a tryout in the offseason, and he ran like a 4.3 40, and they're like, this guy's pretty quick. It turns out he was like a D3, punt returner.
This man is securing the bag at all costs, or at least trying to.
He was sleeping outside, like on the ground, homeless man, and going and showering in 24-hour fitnesses and like going to work out as his job. Like no money. The man didn't even have cleats for this game. After they worked out before the game, OBJ gave his own cleats to him, and he wore OBJ's cleats and returned a punt for a touchdown in a preseason game.
86 yards to the house. Now, that's not one of those stories that's like you want to see that guy succeed. You want to see him
Yeah,
make the roster. And honestly, that's a big step right there, returning a punt. I mean, that's even if he could, he's their punt returner or something. That's
I hope
big.
they give him a shot.
And me
I
too.
mean,
That's awesome.
he
You
he
want to see a success story.
yeah, everybody loves that underdog story, and the way he talked about it, these are the reports. After the game, he still went back at 2 a.m. to their training facilities and worked out. Like the man wants it. There's
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
gotta love it.
I just I hope he gets it.
Let's move on to the Titans Eagles now.
Ah, yes, 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 yes.
Yes, Ryan Tannehill looked good. 12 for 16, 130
He
yards,
did.
2 touchdowns. Look out, Marcus Mariota.
We keep saying it.
Nah,
Tannehill will take over. Ah.
we keep saying Mariota's going to get hurt and Tannehill's going to come in and literally be just Marcus Mariota, and that's why Marcus Mariota won't get re-signed. And you know, look at the evidence. That's all I'll say. The Titans really didn't have anybody else other than Adam Humphries. I would
Yeah.
say that was relevant. Humphries had 4 for 24. Obviously, they went out and signed Humphries this offseason, the top slot receiver that was on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think Humphries could be pretty good this year. He's not getting drafted at all, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him become fantasy relevant. I mean, 80 catches, automatically puts him in fantasy relevancy if he can catch some touchdowns from Mariota or something. Maybe Mariota finally takes a step forward. Obviously, it seems unlikely in his whatever fourth season,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe he takes a step forward. He's healthy all year, and Adam Humphries could be his quote unquote go to guy, not as necessarily
Safety valve.
his dump off guy.
I think he's gonna play that slot.
He's
And
gonna
be
play it well.
across. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do the thing in the slot. But I still think those dump off passes will still go to Delaney Walker more than to Humphreys. Obviously, if they're double covering one or the other, then they're gonna dump off to him. But I really think that Humphreys is his value is stagnant right now.
Oh, I
Because
agree. I don't. I'm not necessarily saying that I even think he'll be fantasy relevant, but it wouldn't shock me, coming up with the
right,
season if it's like, okay, Adam Humphries is good enough to be on a roster, maybe a bye
yeah,
week plug in.
right,
Titans don't throw enough to have
Mm-hmm.
too many fantasy relevant receiving options. In recent years, it's Corey Davis last year, but other than that, you have like Rashard Matthews for those couple seasons, and Delaney Walker has obviously been pretty solid year in year out. So you're not stacking them up on the Titans, that's for sure.
No, I
Like you're
mean,
not going to be upset if you got Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. You're not going to be upset you got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. If your wide receivers are Corey Davis and Adam Humphries, you should be upset.
yeah, I mean, of course they have some other guys there, Taiwan Taylor, Tajay Sharp. I mean, AJB,
Yeah.
where he's at, he's still dealing with a hammy, but a lot of Titans fans were
I would like to.
happy.
I would. God, imagine the Titans throw get Lawrence, and then you just have Lawrence, Corey Davis, AJB, Derrick Henry with that
Mm-hmm.
offensive line. That could be a pretty good offense.
Yeah,
Now, I don't see us getting Lawrence at all because I don't think we'll be able to throw that hard. But you never know.
I mean, who knows? This depends on what the organization wants. As of right now, everything you keep hearing, they're still invested in Mariota. I mean, they're going to keep saying that. There's their guy, but if he has another year like this, it really wouldn't surprise me if they go full throw.
Yeah, me either. But it would be hard to go full throw. They would have to move a ton of pieces for draft picks, I think.
Yeah,
Because I
they
mean,
probably would lose somebody off that line too.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you wouldn't want just a really good line and nobody, nobody around it.
Honestly, trade Derrick Henry too. Like, just go full rebuild. Keep the defense. Just trade everybody on offense.
Let's move on. Packers Texans.
Yeah. Quickly though, in the Eagles though, Dallas Goddard. Keep an eye on him. Tight end.
Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
people are high on Dallas Goddard because a lot of people think that he's more team relevant than fantasy relevant. But if anything happens to Ertz, Goddard's going to be a beast instantly.
yeah. Miles Sanders did not look well either.
Yeah, but what do you have? 3 carries
Yeah. I mean, it's not much.
for the Texans. Joe Webb threw 40 passes. They're really making sure that Deshaun Watson doesn't get on the field and hurt himself. But
I mean, Joe Webb, my MVP.
honestly, that man threw more passes than anybody this week. Nah, but for real, news in this game's not really. There's not much other than Kiki Kuti got a slight injury. It looked a lot worse than it was. The reports were. Let me look real quick. A not major quote, not major ankle injury. So maybe he's out the rest of the preseason. Who knows? He should be their number 3 unless Will Fuller goes out.
Yeah. I mean, it says here he got a little banged up, but shouldn't miss any time at all. General public sees as their number 3, but
I
I
would
don't know.
say literally 0 people on this for the Packers are relevant. Dexter Williams is not relevant. Although he did carry the ball 14 times. Who knows? Maybe he's in
Number
there.
2.
Yeah, maybe he's in their committee because apparently they don't want to fully commit to Aaron Jones for whatever reason. Let's move on to the Panthers Bears. The guy that Varane likes, Will Greer, went 9 for 16. Not great.
Yeah.
Not awful. 77 yards, touchdown, interception. Maybe he's their future.
Yeah. Who knows?
Insert Squidward meme.
Future. No,
That's
I definitely think that Will Greer has the potential to win that number 2 spot.
yeah, I
Cam has
agree.
a history of being banged up every once in a
Yeah,
while.
have you ever heard of Derek Anderson? Um,
No.
On to the Bears. I don't. Who cares about their backup race, right? Tyler Bray went to Tennessee. It's the only reason I even know him. Um, the big story on the Bears is David Montgomery.
Yes.
He had 6 touches, 46 yards. Pretty good. But obviously, everybody wants to see that continue because David Montgomery is a guy who's going really high, and they think he has 3 down back potential. Apparently,
Yeah.
Nagy wants the 3 down back as well.
Mm-hmm. I like his touchdown run that he had. It really, and I'm going out on a limb saying this, it really had that Matt Forte-esque vibe to it. And that's a
Matt
lot
Forte,
to say.
Matt Forte was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I had him on my fantasy teams back in the day, and the man was really solid. I mean, I very much enjoyed having Matt Forte in his prime time years.
Yeah, Forte was
Uh,
good. I enjoyed watching Forte. He did it all.
hmm That's, I mean, other than the Bears defense not really playing their start like main guys, I think both of these teams have potential for 10 plus wins this year.
I agree. Should be 2 very good football teams. The Bears defense should be phenomenal again. Side note:
hmm
don't draft the Bears defense way early, like their ADP.
hmm
Defenses that have finished number 1 in the last 10 years have only finished in the top 10 like once, I think, in the sequential year. Maybe it was top 5. Either way, they haven't been number 1 again. Bears defense will be good, but you can't predict interceptions. You can't predict fumbles. You can't predict touchdowns, which is the big key. So
Yeah. Let's
I
move
think you're
on to the.
just as well taking Vikings defense, Chargers defense later. Speaking of the Chargers, doing on the Chargers Cardinals,
I actually like the Chargers defense a lot this year.
they should be very good.
Yeah.
And very, very relevant news: Austin Eckler was very good yesterday.
Yes.
5 for 40, as well as 3 catches for 29 yards. Y'all know Austin Eckler knows how to catch a football. He was really good last year. He was good enough to flex. And everybody knows about Melvin Gordon. I mean, he kind of wants to get traded. I kind of want to see him get traded. You know, you don't really like to see people happy, but also I want to see Melvin Gordon play. I don't want to see Melvin Gordon hold out. That's why I want to see him get traded if they're not going to sign him. They need to go ahead and give him his money or trade him and, help the fantasy world out. I think Zeke will get paid before the season starts. Jerry Jones was talking about their big 3 getting paid.
Yeah, but is it what Zeke wants though? I mean, I think Zeke really should be the highest paid running back in the league, and that's my opinion. He's been the most consistent so far in his entire career.
Yeah,
So
from the beginning of
he,
his
I,
career, I would
I
agree with that.
think, I think his agent may be in his ear whispering, "We're not going to settle for top money." And if that happens, who knows what happens? I think Melvin's starting to see that too. He wants top 5 money. They're not going to give it to him.
It doesn't help either one of them that there's another person holding out. Because I'm sure Zeke's like, well, I kind of want to see if Melvin Gordon gets paid. And when Melvin Gordon gets paid, he's going to say, I want more money than that. Melvin
Exactly.
Gordon's like, well, I want to see how much Zeke's getting paid because I want to know how much I should be getting paid, you know? I mean, that's 2 of the best running
Exactly.
backs over the last few years. And
They're kind of
pe-
in a.
people don't invest in running backs too often. And, Austin Eckler, he's performing well. Why?
I see him as that Philip Lindsay role that we saw last year. Eckler definitely has a lot of talent. He can rush the ball really well.
He's
And getting
explosive.
um
That's
and like you
interesting though.
said,
The longer the holdouts go, I mean, Austin Eckler's already relevant. People are already drafting him as a flex. You're not even really drafting Eckler as a handcuff, but the longer Melvin Gordon holds out, the more you're like, okay, this guy could be like a running back too.
hmm
So
yeah. I mean, if it got confirmed today or tomorrow that Melvin Gordon's like, I'm just not gonna play, Eckler's up there like
yeah,
top
but
5 rounds,
yeah, I
easy.
agree. I don't know if Eckler's necessarily a 3 down back though, because I mean he's smaller, isn't he? How tall is Eckler?
No, like I said, like
Yeah, he's
that
5'10",
Philip
200
Lindsay
pounds.
role.
But yeah, they would have to bring somebody in though. I think is what I'm saying.
You think so?
Or
You don't think Jackson would be their bruiser? Justin
maybe
Jackson had 5 for 22 and a touchdown. I
he's
mean,
he weighs less than Austin Eckler does though.
I don't know. I don't know about that. But shout out to my boy Terod Taylor.
You said you don't know if he weighs less. He does. I looked at it.
I know it was a
Uh,
meme, but I mean, there's not much else other than I really.
yeah, put in Cardell Jones at fullback. Um,
I
um,
think that
he really made a whole. He really scammed a bunch of people off one game, didn't he? Championship game.
yep,
And had a decent college season and got drafted. Incredible.
secure the bag.
Uh, let's move on to the Cardinals. Everybody wants to talk about Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
6 for 7, 44 yards. Obviously, completion percentage is pretty good, but I mean, it's not like he was throwing it downfield. Um, don't buy too much into that, but also don't ignore that. I don't think that hurts or helps Kyler Murray's status at all, right? If you're buying into that and like thinking you should buy Kyler Murray at where he is, I still disagree. As the preseason goes on, maybe that'll change, but he's got a lot to prove to me. Like I said, he's a guy that like I remember you took Dak Prescott his rookie year, and you were like, I think he could be pretty good, and you took him in like the 15th round, and then you ended up being good. But Kyler Murray's not going in the 15th round, so
No, his ADP is way too high for that.
yeah.
It's actually like, what is it, going above Russell Wilson? If you do that, please just stop playing fantasy football. If you take Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson, please stop.
Please. Right, well, other than that, there's not really anybody worth talking about. Obviously, there's fantasy relevant people like Fitzgerald, but there's no reason to talk about Fitzgerald having one catch for 1 yard.
He's been doing that his entire career. Like, been catching them balls forever.
Yeah, so not really notable.
I mean, biggest thing is like Kyler. Most of Kyler's passes were just outs to the right and left. So hopefully, further in the preseason, we can see him start airing it out more, throwing it downfield. He did have a really good pass where he showed his elusiveness in the backfield. He got out from two guys running after him and ran out to his right side of the field and completed the pass. So that's a good sign because their offensive line's probably not going to be good.
Probably. Let's get into this Broncos Seahawks game. I think there's a good amount to talk about here as well. The Broncos, obviously, they signed Joe Flacco in the offseason, but Drew Lock, he could take over the role during the season. Maybe it's at the end of the season. I don't know. Maybe he's just mentored by Flacco this year, but I think Drew Lock's talented enough. I think Flacco's also good enough. Flacco's had some big seasons. He's somehow won a Super Bowl. A lot of people like to think he's the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, but you can't take away from the fact that he won a Super Bowl. He's won more Super Bowls than I have.
Yeah.
I think Royce Freeman, though, phenomenal. 3 carries, 49 yards. To say that's phenomenal is, whatever. But I think a lot of people are, coming into the realization Royce Freeman's pretty good. Philip Lindsay's pretty good. They're going to have a pretty split, like 50-50 workload, I think. Philip Lindsay will probably catch a couple more passes, but I think Royce Freeman will probably rush for a few more yards. Philip Lindsay was really good last year, though, on all fronts. So they should have a pretty good backfield.
Yeah, I mean,
you actually drafted Royce Freeman last year.
I did. I took Royce Freeman in the 4th round. I was really high on him. I was just lucky enough that I was able to pick up Lindsay off the waiver wire and start him the rest of the year. But I do think it's Flacco's year. Like, I don't see Locke taking over at all. I did watch his first 2 games, the Hall of Fame game and this one. His stats are a little skewed here. But Drew Lock really does not look comfortable in the backfield for the Broncos. I mean, it's like something's a little off. He's not throwing the ball right. He's throwing the dirt.
But I mean, he's super young. I don't think he'll take over this year because you brought in Flacco, and
I think Flacco's there for 2 years or 3.
Flacco's a guy that doesn't really turn the ball over either. He's kind of one of those game managers guys. He helps you move the ball upfield. Just kind of solid, But I think Drew Lock, that's what I was saying. Like, he gets mentored this year and, maybe next year as well. But maybe he's their future. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the way that the Broncos have been with drafting quarterbacks has not been so great as of lately. So maybe, like you said, this one they want to bring in a game manager
Mm,
and kind of,
Brock
you know,
Lobster turns into Black Lobster.
yeah. Um, I really think it's going to be more like 60-40 in Lindsey's favor as of right now. Um, Instead of Royce Freeman being, 50-50, I think it's more Lindsey than Royce. They're both very talented and easily could, outplay each other on any week. Like you said, I think Lindsey is going to catch more passes out of that backfield. He showed it all last year. The man had a well over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Um, I think Lindsey's touchdowns will go down just a slight bit from last year. Um, I think Freeman will definitely vulture some of those goal line touchdowns if he's healthy enough to do it. I mean, I think he's fine right now, clearly, but you never know in a season like this. Um, Notable, they picked up Theo Riddick after the Lions cut him. Who cares
Notable only because Theo Riddick was relevant years
in
ago.
the
He was
in
not good
pass
last
catching?
year. I don't think he's even. I wouldn't be surprised if he got cut this year. Honestly, they don't need Theo Riddick.
I think they more or less just got him there. Who knows what happens if somebody gets hurt?
Yeah,
They still have a pass catcher there.
and on the Broncos side of the ball, or not the Broncos, the Seahawks side of the ball, Rashad Penny's probably only notable player really to talk about. Metcalf had a catch for 8 yards. Penny though is a guy that last year a lot of people thought was going to be better than he was. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
think this year becomes more of a committee with Carson and Penny. Carson didn't play. They also have Bo Scarborough, but
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Bo Scarborough, like,
that's just
that
a
man's big.
yeah.
Like, he could vulture some of those goal
That's just a
line.
that's kind of a that's a thick situation.
You know, I wish, as much as Seattle loves to run the ball, I wish they would just come out and tell us a guy like when they had Marshawn Lynch there. Please, like, that's all I beg of you. Just give us a running back to draft as number one.
Remember Thomas Rawls?
Yeah, I do remember him. Also, I didn't realize Paxton Lynch was on the Seahawks as a backup QB. The more you know. But I really think, I mean, the way that Pete Carroll talks about his players, I mean, he always hypes them up left and right. I think you're more on
Yeah,
the
he's one of those
lines.
coaches that you can't buy into what he's saying.
Yeah. I think right now, safe to say Penny is the guy to own in this backfield.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I,
don't know. Chris Carson was good last year. Chris Carson was really good last year. We were told in the chat that we brushed over the Eagles, which that was on me, I guess. I know Varan mentioned Goddard and Varan mentioned Sanders. I don't really know. There's just not much else to talk about. Goddard was good, right? But I think Goddard, everybody knows about Goddard at this point, which is kind of weird. The backup tight end,
mm,
but Miles Sanders is relevant. Jordan Howard, don't take Jordan Howard. I just don't think Jordan Howard's going to be worth having. I think Miles Sanders will be their guy, but I think he's the main person in the committee, but he's still in the committee, so it's like I don't think Jordan Howard would be good enough to be relevant, but I think Miles Sanders will be good enough to be relevant. But I think
mm-hmm.
he'll be the only one in the committee. But he's still in a committee, so his ceiling is kind of capped. But also, who knows? Maybe he takes over.
Yeah. All right. We can move on to the Bucks Steelers. That's actually still going on currently right now when we're recording this.
Yeah.
But
Well, the starters have
currently,
already played, so we'll just
yeah, the starters are already played. So I mean, you've got Brian Griffin in starting for the Bucks and
Brian Griffin,
Mason Mason Rudolph
the dog
playing
from
right now.
Family Guy. Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber, 3 carries, 18 yards, 4 carries, 18 yards.
You gotta love that.
I really
That
expected Peyton Barber to have 4 carries for 13 yards because that's just kind of what he does. I I don't know what to do with their running back situation. I didn't even know Andre Ellington was on the team. I don't think that's relevant, but
I think it's in my from everything I'm seeing, I really think Jones is a step ahead of Peyton Barber. Um, I think that he could take that role a step forward. I know Bruce Arians says that he wants a committee backfield, but he didn't have that when he was in Arizona. He had a bell cow,
Jameis
and
Winston said that he's wanting to focus more on checking down as well.
mhm,
I think that bodes well for Ronald Jones.
yeah,
Even if the carries are kind of split, I think Ronald Jones is probably the better receiver there.
yeah.
Peyton Barber's really just a sack of potatoes. Just like
Or they
just like
could,
rolls up the field, just rolling them really ugly. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
Ronald
Ronald
Jones
Jones
is the highest ceiling there.
I agree. He's ADP right now is 101. I mean, you can get him later in the draft. They're going like back to back, Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber, which is
Yeah,
tremendous. Um, so really, I mean, there's little to no doubt that you can get either one of them for no cost, and then your backup will still be on the waiver wire.
yeah. To touch on the
So
Steelers real quick, Benny Snell has 13 carries for 26 yards, which is a lot for nothing. Jalen Samuels only has 2 carries. I think that's just kind of solidifying the fact that Benny Snell is the 3 and Jalen Samuels is the 2. If anything,
mhm.
um, I think the other fantasy relevant news is not necessarily with this game, but Dante Moncrief is becoming the lead candidate and the favorite to become wide receiver too.
Yeah, I said it publicly before, but I like Moncrief. I always kind of had a soft spot for Moncrief. I've drafted him several years. He just never really took that, great step forward. Now that AB's out of the picture, Juju is expected to be the one. This offense is a top 10 offense. I really think that he could really be at least a wide receiver 3, very much possible a wide receiver 2, depending on, matchups and everything like that. I
Devin
have no
Bush, 7
problem.
tackles by the way.
Yeah. I have no problem at all, depending on matchups, starting Moncrief in my flex at
I'm
all.
definitely
Like,
trying to take Moncrief this year. I think
for
his
sure.
ADP is going to continue to rise as the preseason
Yeah,
goes on and more news comes
I
out.
agree.
Let's touch on the Vikings and Saints real quick and then wrap it up.
Yeah, Moncrief's ADP right now 158, so it's definitely going to go up.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Moncrief as one of my last picks if I can, I think. But like I said, I think his ADP rises and he becomes into like maybe that 12th, 13th round instead of one of your 15th round. Kirk
Hmm.
Cousins was 4 for 4, 65 yards and a touchdown.
Consistent.
Yeah, Thielen had a 34-yard catch.
Gotta love to see that.
Oh, bless me. Alexander Madison, who is going to be the
Two.
the number 2 for the Vikings. Amir Abdullah I forgot that he was on the Vikings, but he actually has 4 carries for 63 yards tonight, which is pretty good. But I don't think that that's relevant. They drafted
Mm.
Madison. I think if anything were to happen to Cook, Madison's the running back to own. I think if you own Cook, you should also own Madison. I think that's a good handcuff to have.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Kyle Rudolph had 2 catches, 30 yards. It's not really surprising.
Yeah, I think Rudolph takes a step forward this year. I mean, I kind of had a bad year the year before, but um, I definitely see him as a tight end 2 this year. I think reports came out that Kirk has been really challenging himself in practices and this whole offseason looking at different defenses and trying to take that step forward into
Learning how to
the
read.
learning how to read elite defenses.
You should
He can
go
already
get lessons from Floyd Mayweather.
yeah, but I hope the best for
I
the
think Kirk Cousins
Vikings.
is underrated, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
We've always been higher on Kirk Cousins than he generally seems to get from everybody else. I think he's
Hmm.
good. I do think I do think he messes up sometimes, right? Like, and you're just like, Kirk, what are you doing? Like, just when I thought you'd taken a step, you take two steps
Hmm.
back. But, Kirk Cousins plays with a lot of passion. He's got a good football team around him. Kirk Cousins is due to succeed again. I don't. He's a quarterback too, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
I mean,
surprised to see him break into like quarterback 9, quarterback 10 territory.
hmm especially this year.
Yeah,
Last side note for the Vikings, not even relevant at all, but they have a guy on their team named Hercules Mata Afafa.
I will
But
say for anybody who who not last year but the year before who drafted Juju Smith and knew that he was going to be good, kudos to you. In our league, um, Juju Smith was the second to last pick, I believe, in his rookie season, and he got picked simply because his name was Juju. He was like, I like that name. Slapped it on the board. And the funniest part was that I think he had 7 wide receivers and 2 running backs, and the max you can have, I think, is 6 wide receivers. So I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna cut off, your last wide receiver that you picked, and I'll just let you pick whatever, like to submit the team. I was like, I'll let you just pick whatever running back you want that's still available. And so Juju ended up getting cut. I think the running back that he got was, damn, what's his name? The short guy. He was on the Bears. He was on the Bucks.
yeah,
What is his name? He was like so anti fantasy relevant for most weeks, but then occasionally he would have
Jaquiz Rogers.
Jaquiz Rogers. Yes, that's who he ended up
Yeah.
getting. Maybe he had 3 running backs. I don't know, but
Uh,
Jaquiz Rogers was who he got instead of Juju Smith. So unlucky for him.
yeah. Let's talk about the Saints. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater's playing. He's actually looking pretty solid so
Things
far.
you like to
14.
see. I felt
Yeah.
terrible for Bridgewater. He just had a horrible situation. Taysom
Yeah.
Hill's probably still going to be. Taysom Hill might play more than Teddy Bridgewater simply because how they use Taysom Hill. But
Hmm.
you know, back up Teddy Bridgewater. Good for him.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Speaking of
Jaquiz
that,
Rogers,
Rogers.
there he is. I did not even know he was on the Saints. He's an ain't for sure.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara. They're saying that Kamara is actually going to be more of like a similar role to what he was last year instead of more of the bell cow back, which kind of sucks. But that is also, I mean, you can't complain about what Kamara's done the past 2 seasons, but that's good news for Latavius Murray, right? Like that makes him probably deserving of a higher ADP. I don't know if that'll
Hmm.
happen, but I think Latavius Murray is a guy now. You start taking him around early. He could be a
Yeah. I
good
mean,
running back too for
ADP
you.
right now is 89 right now. I mean,
Yeah, if I feel like right there, that's probably a steal. He's going to outperform that.
the guys that going around him, Kenyon Drake, James White, Rashad Penny, Tariq Cohen. I'm
I think
taking James
James,
White
yeah,
over,
I think
but
James White is the move right there. You
I mean,
said
if you got
89 is his ADP?
yeah,
James White is
cur-
not going 89th.
currently, let's see,
Oops.
James White's 69. Excuse me.
Yeah, I was like,
Uh,
there's no way James White's going that low.
I think, but like in the running back like tiers, they're close to each other.
Yeah, but
Maybe that's
sandwiching him is Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard and Daryl Henderson. The only way you take Daryl Henderson instead is if you have, like, I would rather have him over all of those guys, Darius guys, Rashad Penny, not Eckler. I think probably take Lamar Miller over him as well, but I think at his ADP, very good pick right there.
yeah. But I mean, nobody really else to talk about in this game. They're not
Other
starting.
than Traquan Smith, maybe, because there's
Yeah,
that fight for the number 2. You got Ted Ginn Jr., you got Traquan Smith. It doesn't really matter, honestly, I think, at the end of the day, because they run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. But
Traquan has a lot of appeal for me as one of those late round guys. Let's see what his ADP is right now. I got him at 174. I mean, 174 and probably top 2 offense in the entire league.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll take that every day. I mean,
absolutely, I agree. I think I mean, Traquan Smith, he had a couple of big games last year, didn't he?
Uh, very slim, I believe. I don't know his stats for the last year, but
I'm looking at it. We're looking at it, boys. Yeah, he had a game with 10 catches, 150 yards, and he had a 3 catch, 111 yards. But that's the game I was remembering, 157
yeah,
yards. They, I mean, don't get me wrong. The rest of the season, he had what 40, 56 yards, but but he's got really like boom potential, really big boom potential. Traquan Smith has, which is, I mean, the same thing that Ted Ginn has as well. But Ted Ginn's getting older. You know, doesn't matter. Like I said, they run 3 wide receiver sets anyways. But it's the fight for the targets more than the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, quote unquote.
right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, like I said before, in that Saints offense, you have a great potential to get a lot of value out of a guy that late. I mean, 16th round, really.
Yeah,
Why not take a flyer on one of the best, I mean, best offenses in the league as one of the receivers,
yeah, I agree
especially to be the
completely.
two. Um, so that's all of them currently played right now. There's a few tomorrow, three of them
We'll
to be exact.
we'll just touch on those next week, and we'll just group those in with the other, the Thursday games, the Friday games.
Yeah,
That was the episode. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate people hanging out. We're gonna wrap this up. We'll put it up on YouTube. If you're watching, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to leave a comment. Any topics you want to see us discuss, any questions you might have, we'll answer those as well. Follow us on Twitter. Mine is MATEO THOUGH, and friends.
MATTHEWV42.
And if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. We appreciate you watching.
Thanks.